So I thought I'd make a video. I'm going to be building another model ship. I'm excited. Aside from taking the GED class, the practice exams, and see how well I do, to see how many times I have to retake it or study or whatever. But just wanted to make a video. This is another ship that I'll be making. It's called the Albatros, which is from Ocre. OCCRE, I think that's how it's pronounced. But anyway, this is what it looks like when you purchase it. This is exactly what it looks like. It's this sort of picture. This is a finished product. This is what it's supposed to look like. Obviously, I always do my own modifications, and the last one I built was everything was supposed to be just as descripted, except I added a front part to it that was a little bit different, and some action figures. So some angels and crucifixes. But anyway, I always sort of tend to overglue it, but I wanted to make a video that this is kind of what it looks like, because it looks like that when it's finished, but it comes with so many different pieces of wood. It's all really not much put together for you. There you go, you got so it looks like, and then I have to break this down, and I have to go sort all this out to see how I need to separate all of it, so that I do in segments, and then any additives. Because the thing about making model ships is that it's so precise that every time you're a millimeter off something on anything, that it all adds up, that then makes the whole ship start to be out of shape, out of precision. So each time these little planking woods to get placed in the on the as I'm making it, then what happens is that when I get to a different part of it, like on the upper deck, and I try to lay out maybe another piece of wood, then it won't come out even because of all the other stuff that I didn't do incorrectly that were precise or closest to precise. So everything that I come off wrong will then later falter my problems later down the road. So it comes with this. They're coming into my apartment sometime and stealing shit. I don't know who's doing this. Excuse my words, but so I ended up having to purchase, unfortunately, and I had to spend more money on some other extra. This is what it comes in. It comes in with the same precise number of buttons and harnesses and whatnot. So it's already set in here, these little pieces, and you got to, do it all on your own. It gives you a map of the colors it's supposed to be, according to what they sell it as. And for tones, I usually don't mess with the colors very much. These usually always have the sails, the drapes, so it's always comes in this little nice envelope. And but these are very sensitive fabrics. And then this is what it looks like. You get these instructions, and how the sterns go, and the directions are very poorly written a lot of the times, in my opinion. They different glues, and this is like in 7 different languages. So there are a lot of people that build them all over the country, all over the world. And you get all this, but this is what it looks like. It comes in all. It comes all in just pieces of wood. All this is just pieces of wood. These are planking layers, and then you got this. You got all these for the poles, and this is what it looks like. So you do have this front part, but you have to end up putting all the planking on top. You have the rib cages, which those are very simple and easy, and you got to cut them out, and you got to sort of you have to put all these little pieces together, which is a little tedious work. But if I open this, one second, cooking some noodles and some out the way. So I got these directions, pamphlets, and pictures here. It tells me what I need to do, how to do it. But as you can see, as I'm talking about, like when you get to these types of stages, it all these little fragments, like every time that you're off, it's that much more difficult, so that whenever you get to a different position, you'll always come across errors, where the errors will, all the fraction of an inch or a fraction of a millimeter adds up to then a centimeter, and then adds up to half an inch, even in not even half an inch, I would say like a quarter of an inch, which it all adds up and it shifts in different directions, so that when you try to lay down like like an arm, the armrest that goes on the top of the layer, it actually won't even go on even. And these are laser cut wood. So if you were built this with a robot, it would build perfect. So even with the wood being aligned, you still have to sand it down. So if you don't sand it down, then something else will go wrong. So, and then the gluing falls apart, and all these different types of errors come along the way that you're building this. But so it comes with all this great stuff. This is usually pretty simple, but you got to lay down every single one of these strips. You have these little tiny, very thin strips. There's like 40 of them in there, on brown and white. So you can see this sort of walnut and the regular plankings, and they're very, very thin. If you just look how thin one is, and you got to lay them across here. And then you got to drill the holes, and you got to make sure the holes are nice and even, and that's just the front part of it. And then you have to draw on top of it to make it look realistic. These little fragments here, you gotta, as you can see, you gotta all piece it together, and it makes like cannons and all this right here. Once you take it apart, you have to sand it down so it looks smooth, so it's gonna fit smooth. And then when you glue it and pry it on there, it's even more tedious, because then you have to go back to this, and then you have to sand it again, just so that it makes sure it has some sort of fitting, because there's so many different areas where you have to come back and forth in so many different situations and try to fix it, because it's just not like, even if you have to go back on the whole boat and re-sand it and try to sand it and make it smoother. Just because I made this perfect doesn't mean it's going to fit. So then I have to sand this down. And if I don't sand the boat down, then I have to sand the bottom stern of this, or I don't know what they call this, the little propeller in the back that sort of helps the direction of the boat. But yeah, these are already pre-made. These are a little bit more simple. You still have to put it on here. They're very easy to break. In fact, you have to put them in water. And I actually have to use a little mini small iron, and I use this little small iron, and I have to dip these in water, and then I have to bend it, and then I try to create some sort of like a curl, which I just figured out the last boat that I worked on, is you have to create a curl so that it can have a nice finish, because it just, you come across so many different situations where it just goes wrong. You can't do anything about it, so you have to just make adjustments as you're going along. So they got this. I don't know what this is. Probably like the top layer deck. You still have to make sure it's adjusted there. And these are like little pieces that go on to like the top layers and so on. And this is always the simplest easiest beginning intro. Simply, you just take everything out here, and then you set these. You know what this reminds me of is when I was a kid. You know how you can give the little kids number blocks. Back in my days, there used to be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then A, B, C, D, and there are these huge pieces of wood, and you have to fit them into the little puzzle, and then you understand that A goes there, B goes there, and C goes there. It's kind of like that a little bit, but you have to smooth it all out, and then it makes a skeleton, which is the skeleton frame of the boat, and that's how they make boats. And then you got to put all these little parts, and you have to put them on there. First, you have to put the wood on there, which is very difficult. And then you have to put the planking on there, and then so it has a smooth finish. So that's how it goes. It seems that's what it looks like. This is what it looks like right here. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like right here. This is all you get. Just a bunch of broken wood. And this is what it's supposed to look like. Anyway, it's fun. And I'm looking hopefully build before my lease is up here, end up here. Maybe 4. So maybe 4 or 5, but that's a little overshooting, but yeah. So each of this particular boat has a meaning to the historic meaning to it. It's an American boat ship. So the Albatros, from my understanding, it's a type of bird in the sky that does a lot of flying and a lot of guiding through the skies from long distances. So I can't remember the exact termination right off the bat of my head, but that's kind of what it means, sort of like a bird, which, not the dove bird, but a bird. But the ship itself represented an historical meaning. You could probably look it up. I don't remember right now what I got it because I was looking up reading so many stuff. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on right now. And a lot of these pictures, sometimes they don't give you good explanations to what it's supposed to look like. Like, you don't get a big picture like this in this entire book that they give, because you don't know what's going on up here. So they just give you this to kind of look at, and it becomes very difficult, because if you can't, if you look online, you have to go to YouTube, and hopefully somebody built it already, and they give you, and that's usually where I get my tutorials to see how to fix and adjust something. But that's just kind of what's going on. The ropes, they make a little bit different on boats. I know these ropes, they call them rat lines, where you go up into the upper part of the sails and whatnot. They're made a little different on some of them. Some of them are made a little bit more complex. This one's a little bit more simple, which is a good thing, at least for now. Some of the other boat that I worked on and made for Michaela is very complex. It's very difficult to do that by hand. Yeah. So I even got this little bitty iron, helps me iron the wood, and that's what's going on. So make sure I keep y'all updated when I get started on it and finish it.